So an actual Russian plant thought that Tucker Carlson's shilling for Russia was even too much. This is crazy. All right, this is a bombshell story in every sense of the word. We just received breaking news that some of the largest right-wing influencers in the conservative media sphere have been being paid off by the Kremlin to spread disinformation online and to promote Donald Trump as the presidential candidate that people should vote for. Now, we've been joking about it for a while, saying that all right-wing influencers are paid by Russia, but now we have an actual CBS News article titled, "U.S. says Russia-funded media company that paid right-wing influencers millions for videos." And this is a topic that I'm passionate about because Russian disinformation is so insidious, but it's also invisible. It's everywhere on social media. They are trying to spread misogyny, racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. They are trying to divide everybody in America as much as they can, because think about it. Vladimir Putin only benefits from Donald Trump and the right-wing sycophants below him, the influencers and politicians, spreading misinformation and sowing distrust in our institutions, making all of the citizens think that it doesn't matter if you vote, everything is rigged, the courts are rigged, Judge Merchan's daughter is rigged. It sounds familiar, right? This article reads, 2 Russian nationals working for a news network controlled by Vladimir Putin's government funneled millions of dollars to an American media company that paid right-wing influencers for videos pushing narratives favorable to the Kremlin, U.S. prosecutors alleged on Wednesday. And this actually makes me mad because these right-wing influencers you will recognize. We have talked about them many times before, and I would argue that they led directly to millions of Americans being misinformed, and those millions of Americans led to Speaker of the House Mike Johnson waiting months and months and months to give aid to Ukraine, therefore actually killing Ukrainian citizens in the process. So these people have killed Ukrainian citizens. We have Benny Johnson, one of the worst people possible. Well, first let me read this tweet. Breaking. Kremlin agents in the U.S. with millions of Twitter followers were paid $10 million by Russia to spread disinformation and rally support for convicted felon Trump on social media per indictment unsealed by the Department of Justice. Again, a breaking story. Please leave a like, leave a comment, and watch till the end to help boost this in the YouTube algorithm. Tenet Media is based in Tennessee, and it employs Benny Johnson, the dude who debates people and is just very, very bad faith. Tim Pool, the beanie guy who has interviewed Donald Trump before. This man never takes off his beanie. He constantly has it on. And remember a few minutes ago when I said that these people just exist to sow distrust, to make sure that American citizens are confused. This is what Tim Pool's Twitter feed looked like in 2022, or 2020 through 2022. Now, Tim Pool says that Democrats are divisive and Democrats sow distrust, but he has said, you are in a civil war. Civil war. It's going to escalate to a civil war. He says civil war over and over and over, and it only makes sense that he's being paid by the Kremlin, because what do you think it does to people online when you constantly, over and over, say there is a civil war coming? But the story only gets crazier. People like Dave Rubin, who works for the Daily Wire, has been taking money from the Kremlin, and Lauren Southern. Now let's read this article. An indictment unsealed in the Southern District of New York charged Konstantin Kalashnikov and Elena Afanasvaya, both based in Moscow, with conspiracy to launder money and conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act. The indictment came as the Justice Department unveiled sprawling allegations accusing the Russian government of meddling in the 2024 elections. The 2 defendants worked for RT, a media outlet formerly known as Russia Today that is funded and controlled by the Russian government. So, if we think about it, why do you think people like Tim Pool, people like Lauren Southern, people like Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin have been saying online that we need to stop funding Ukraine? They want to rescind, pull away any military equipment that we're sending overseas, and they promote this isolationist 1939 type view where they want to make sure that we're not helping an ally abroad. And this is a direct result of them being paid by Russia. And then when I go to Trump rallies and I debate these Trump supporters on Russia, and they regurgitate this stuff from Tim Pool's podcast, and I call it Russian disinformation like I have many times, I was actually right. I'm just feeling very vindicated right now. This article reads, a federal indictment unsealed on Wednesday alleges that a Tennessee-based media company, Tenet Media, which played home to several prominent right-leaning online commentators, was secretly a Russian government-backed influence operation. The company is accused of receiving $10 million from employees of RT, a Russian state-backed media company, as part of a scheme scheme to create and distribute content to U.S. audiences with hidden Russian government messaging, according to Attorney General Merrick Garland. Tenet Media worked with American conservative or heterodox media figures including Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Lauren Southern, who variously present themselves as independent journalists, documentarians, and political commentators. They say they are crowd-funded when they're actually being funded by the Kremlin. Not all of them immediately commented on having been publicly linked to a foreign propaganda site, but Johnson soon tweeted that he and other influencers had been, quote, victims in this alleged scheme. That is wild. Trumpers are always victims, and the most disgusting part about all of this, we haven't even touched on the fact that they all run defense for Donald Trump and his attempts to overthrow U.S. democracy. We talked about him destabilizing people and making sure that people are not trusting our elections, but he genuinely tried to overthrow American democracy. He wants to shred, terminate our Constitution. He wants to make it so that people who burn the American flag go to jail, and he wants to subvert the will of the American people, become a king, and he's been backed by these journalists. I'm not even going to call them journalists. I'm putting that in quotes, who have been being paid by the Kremlin. It actually pisses me off to an extent. The indictment alleges that not everyone affiliated with Tenet was unaware of the scheme, stating that founders 1 and 2 of the company knew the source of their funding. The founders of Tenet Media are Lauren Shen and her husband. These are also very popular right-wing influencers. Shen is a conservative influencer and YouTuber who's hosted a show on Blaze TV and who's affiliated with Turning Point USA. Now, would you guys be surprised if it came out that other people like Charlie Kirk, other people like Ben Shapiro are allegedly connected with Russia? I would not be. The indictment alleges that RT officials and founders 1 and 2, quote, also worked together to deceive 2 U.S. online commentators, commentator 1 and 2, who respectively have 2.4 and 1.3 million YouTube subscribers. Dave Rubin has 2.4, Tim Pool has 1.3, but Benny Johnson, who said he was a victim, is not said as being deceived. The indictment indicates that even some of the people working at Tenet found their content heavy-handed. On February 15th of this year, Afanasya, using the name Helena Shudra, shared a video in a company Discord channel of what the indictment calls, quote, a well-known U.S. political commentator visiting a grocery store in Russia. While he's not named in the indictment, it clearly matches Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is most likely being paid by Russia, and this only supports that, who toured a grocery store, declaring himself slack-jawed and wonder of how nice it was, how amazing it was over in Russia. By the way, this was after he interviewed Putin and said that we need to stop funding Ukraine. Quote, later that day, the indictment adds, producer 1 privately messaged founder 2 on Discord. They want me to post this, referencing the video that she posted, but it just feels like overt shilling. Founder 2 replied that she thinks we should put it out there. Listen to this. So, an actual Russian plant thought Vladimir Putin's shilling for Russia was too heavy-handed. An actual Russian plant. That is too much for me to handle. Tenet's recent content on sites like YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok has been heavily larded with critical commentary about Kamala Harris. Conservative political commentator and documented plagiarist Benny Johnson, for instance, recently starred in a video about her, quote, empty words, and he was even outside the DNC. We had a paid shill outside the DNC trying to trap Democrats. This is crazy. This is important. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe. Peace out.